the last measure of tendency is called the mid-range. And you can think of the mid-range as literally the middle of the range. The range of the data is the distance between the smallest and the highest, right? So you'd subtract them. The mid-range is the middle of that range, middle of that distance. And so in our particular case, the range runs from 16 to 32. Well, that's a range of 16, a length of 16. If you subtract 32 minus 16, you get 16. And the middle of that, is halfway in between. And so what we want to do to calculate that, there's a couple ways you can do it, but what I would recommend, I think the easiest one, is just to literally take the mean of the highest and lowest values, okay? So the mean of 16 and 32. So the mid-range in our case is to take 16 plus 32 and divide it by 2, right? Add them up, divide by the number of numbers there. That's the average or the mean of those two values. 16 and 32 makes 48? And 48 over 2 is 24. And so the mid-range of this set of data is 24. And you could think of it, if you had a number line where you start at 16 and end at 32, 24 would be right in the middle of that. Okay, it's halfway between. Now, in our particular case, this data is definitely skewed, toward the lower end of that, right, in the teens here, the upper teens. But you do have these extra values kind of trickling out at the end. So the mid-range is going to be kind of skewed down the list toward the greater end of that list. Okay. So anyway, the mid-range is always calculated by taking the average or the mean of the highest and lowest values in the data. There are other ways to calculate it. You could take the difference between them, which is 16, cut that in half, make it 8, and then add it to one end or subtract it from the other end. That would also give you the 24. So there's other ways to calculate this, but I think the easiest one is just to take the average of the highest, lowest values. So add them up, divide by 2.